All right, let's jump right in. What if I told you there's a widespread condition out there affecting hundreds of millions of people that quietly cranks up their risk for a heart attack or stroke, and it all starts in their legs? Well, today we're going to talk about exactly that. This is peripheral arterial disease, or PAD, the unseen threat. And, the first thing you have to appreciate is just the sheer scale of this thing. PAD isn't some rare niche disease. It's a huge global problem. You can see its prevalence is just shooting up, especially as people get older. And it's not just a rich country problem anymore, not by a long shot. The data shows this massive shift towards low and middle income countries, and that's a really big part of the story here. And if you want a number to wrap your head around, just listen to this. Back in 2015, the estimate was 236 million people living with PAD. Just let that sink in for a second. And that number has only gone up since then, making it one of the most common and yet most overlooked cardiovascular diseases in the world. So, let's dig into that a little more. Why is this becoming such a huge global problem? Get this. In just 10 years, the number of PAD cases jumped by a quarter. And the growth was absolutely explosive in low and middle income countries. It's really a perfect storm, Our global population is getting older, and at the same time, rates of conditions like diabetes are just skyrocketing. That creates this enormous pool of people who are susceptible to this disease. Okay, so we've talked about the scale of the problem, but what is PAD, really? What are we actually talking about? The easiest way to think about it is like the plumbing in your house. PAD is caused by something called atherosclerosis, and that's basically just a buildup of fatty gunk, plaque, on the inside of your arteries. So just like clogged pipes can choke off the water flow in your home, this plaque buildup narrows the arteries going to your legs, and it literally starves them of the oxygen and nutrients they desperately need. So what causes this gunk to build up in the first place? Well, it's pretty much the usual suspects. Smoking is a huge one. It just wreaks havoc on the delicate lining of your arteries, making it super easy for that plaque to get a foothold. Diabetes makes blood vessels more fragile and prone to that damage. And when you throw in really common things like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and frankly, just getting older, you can see why PAD is so incredibly common. Now this is where that whole unseen threat idea really clicks. You'd think that a blocked artery in your leg would be pretty obvious, right? Well, not always. In fact, for almost 1 out of every 5 people, there are no symptoms at all. 0. Some people get that classic sign, a cramping pain in the calf when they walk that goes away when they rest, but a huge number of people have totally different symptoms, like numbness or pain that has nothing to do with walking. It makes it so easy to miss. And things get even trickier when you throw another very common condition into the mix. So let's ask the question, why is diabetes such a huge challenge when it comes to PAD? This picture really says it all. First off, PAD is 4 times more common in people with diabetes. So when you combine the poor circulation from PAD, that's the ischemia, with the nerve damage from diabetes, the neuropathy, you end up with a foot that can't feel injuries. A tiny, unnoticed cut can get infected so easily, and you get this perfect storm for ulcers that just won't heal. It's a truly dangerous combination. So, if it's often totally silent and the symptoms can be all over the place, how on earth do you actually diagnose this unseen threat? I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you find a disease that's actively trying to hide from you? Well, believe it or not, the answer is surprisingly simple. It doesn't involve some scary, complicated, invasive procedure. Nope. It's done with a basic, totally painless test that just compares the blood pressure in your ankle to the blood pressure in your arm. It's called the Ankle Brachial Pressure Index, or ABPI for short. So here's how it works. A doctor takes the blood pressure in both of your arms. Then they take it at 2 specific arteries in each of your ankles. After that, it's simple math. They take the highest ankle pressure and divide it by the highest arm pressure. In a healthy person, that ratio should be around 1. But if that number drops below 0.9, that's a huge red flag that blood flow is being restricted on its way down to your legs. It's that straightforward, and it is incredibly good at finding this hidden disease. Okay, so we've found it, we've diagnosed it. What's next? Let's open up the treatment playbook. So managing PAD, it's not a one-and-done fix. It's really a lifelong journey, a partnership with your healthcare team that usually starts with your family doctor. It's this whole comprehensive game plan that mixes together education, prevention, medication, and only when it's really needed, getting a specialist involved. And the foundation of that plan probably looks pretty familiar, right? It all starts with tackling those risk factors we talked about head on. That means you've got to stop smoking, commit to a healthy diet, and get regular supervised exercise, which, by the way, is fantastic for improving how far you can walk. And all of that is backed up with medications like statins to get cholesterol down, drugs to control blood pressure, and of course, good management of diabetes. But what if that's not enough? Well, for the more severe cases, doctors have some other powerful tools. There are procedures called revascularization. We're talking things like balloon angioplasty, putting in a tiny metal scaffold called a stent, or even bypass surgery. The goal is the same for all of them, to physically open up those clogged pipes, get the blood flowing again, and ultimately to save the limb. Okay, we're at the end, but I need you to really lean in for this last part, because this is the most critical takeaway of this whole thing. PAD is so much more than just leg pain. This is what you absolutely have to understand. It doesn't matter if your PAD is mild, moderate, or severe. Just having it at any level is a massive sign of widespread atherosclerosis. It means those clogged pipes aren't just in your legs. It's a pretty sure bet they're in the arteries leading to your heart and your brain too. And the consequences of that? Well, they're staggering. Having an abnormal result on that simple ankle test is linked to a 3 to 6 times higher risk of dying, usually from a heart attack or a stroke. Let me say that again. A problem in your legs is one of the most powerful predictors of a life-threatening event in your heart or brain. So, I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. That ache, that numbness, or even the complete silence from your legs could be the earliest and loudest warning siren your body can possibly sound about the health of your heart. So the real question is, are you listening?